Hey, how you doing, everybody? This is episode 63 of the Dadcast. Two suburban dads talking about life, talking about whatever. I'm your host, Gary Zarecki. This is my buddy Bill,
Yeah.
and we're coming at you from Levittown, PA. We do this show every week, and it's Bill. It's tough being a dad.
Yeah.
I was talking to my daughter this week. We got a little argument about guns. And she's like, "Oh, we got to get rid of the guns. They're bad. People are getting killed." I said, "Jess, it's real. This is complicated.
Yeah.
It's not an easy issue to understand." I said, honestly, I think you're too young to.
Yeah.
And anyway, one thing led to another. She called me a fucking retard and a cuck and all this other shit. And we haven't spoken in like 3 days. Yeah, it's just tough when your kids don't want to talk to you, but you got to stand your ground.
Yeah.
Anyway, everybody, stamps.com. It's cheaper than a post office, and use promo code DAD, get a free download. All right, folks, let's start the show. Yeah, welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of The Sit Down. That was our fun little intro where, two dads. Maybe that could be a thing. And welcome back, Matt. What episode?
I thought it was funny.
What's so fucking funny?
It's good.
All right.
You want to know what episode or number we're
24?
on, right?
Wait, let me guess. 24.
No, 22.
22. All right.
Yeah.
And we're joined by a fan favorite. Sean Donnelly's back again.
Hey, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
One
Thanks
of my
for
favorite topics.
What?
Mafia.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And, we're back, and what are we talking about today? We're going beyond the movie, and we're talking about the people from Goodfellas. Actually, I want to bring this up because I did Sean's radio show a couple weeks ago, or like last week, and we were talking about, I mentioned the guys from Goodfellas.
Yeah, and we were talking about The Sopranos on the show.
We're talking about Sopranos. We did the Sopranos episode, and I mentioned Tommy DeSimone, who was in Goodfellas, and this guy calls in. He's like, "Yeah, how you doing? It's me, Petey from Ohio, or whatever his name. Paulie, I think his name was.
I think it's Paulie from Ohio. Yeah,
Right.
and he knew the guys from Goodfellas.
He goes, "You meant, it was funny that you called him Tommy DeSimone because that was his real name, and I was friends with the guy."
Yeah, and he said also everybody else, but he brought up like a deep cut. He was like Anthony Stabile, who's also a character in Goodfellas.
And they used his real name.
And they used his real name.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So this guy said Anthony Stabile. I was like, oh, yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about. And he sounded like the real deal, right, Mike?
He sounded like the real deal.
Yeah.
Which is funny because, we spend so much time, kind of like making fun of these guys. Because, like the take, like you can usually either like lionize them or make fun of them or whatever. So we like joke around a lot and whatever. But hearing that guy talk, it really did it made my stomach turn.
Me too.
A little bit. Yeah.
No, that's how
He
you know it's for
straightened
real.
up a little bit.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Paulie.
Well, because he was like super friendly, super charismatic, but you could sort of like.
He wasn't trying to prove anything.
Yeah.
He literally was just, the minute he started talking,
And that's who
you
I
just
think
tell
you
there
have
was
to be afraid of.
authenticity. Oh, yeah, those are the guys that don't say anything about it are the
Yeah.
ones that know everything. So when he was like, I was friends with some of those guys. I would hang out with them. But like, he was probably involved in a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
But he just didn't say it because he was for real. That's why.
We'll get into this in a second, but if you know those guys,
Yeah, if you know who those guys are,
and
I believe that. And also, like, he was in Ohio, maybe he wasn't in the witness relocation program, but I think he was out there for a reason.
Yeah.
I think he probably left that whole situation.
Yeah.
So that's why we're like, this adds up to like, okay, it makes us nervous.
What if he was like, I gave foot massages to all those guys.
He just ruins our like fantasy of Goodfellas. We're like, these guys are such badasses. And he's like, I would do the hair at night. I would braid their hair and give them foot massages.
Yeah. But what's funny is
I get them coffee, lattes. Lattes. They drank lattes? Yeah, they loved cinnamon on their lattes.
Tommy DeSimone liked it when I flicked his little toe a little bit, just moved it back and forth. I pretend it was a little puppet.
But yeah, no, it was actually that was probably the best part of the show. It was like an hour show. I do it once a month. It's called Celebrate, where we take one topic and we just celebrate it instead of kind of shitting on it or whatever. But Well, the minute he called up, we were all perked up because we were like, all right, this guy sounds like he knows what he's talking about. And then when he said those names, we were like, he definitely does. And then and he just sounded like a tough guy, like a real tough guy, not like a blowhard tough guy, like a real tough guy. You know?
But what's funny is like you're never really confronted with it, you know. I haven't been confronted with that really until then. And like once you talk to these guys, you're just kind of like, all right, whatever you say, sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, we went from being wise asses to like being like third graders
totally
really
respectful,
fast.
Like, like the Pope was calling us or something.
We shut right down. We were like, what about witness relocation program? And the minute he started talking more, we were like, okay, all right, great, all right, thanks so much for calling.
Yeah.
Thank you,
like,
sir.
no, I'm not a witness protection, even though he probably was.
Probably was.
Yeah.
He must have been.
Yeah. Well, all right. Before we get into our show, we are having a little management issue. You know, Matt and I, we have a Patreon. We have bonus episodes. If you guys want to listen, every week we put out a 30-minute to an hour bonus episode. We taped 2 of those this weekend, and we had Shelby on the show, Matt's girlfriend.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
she's a wonderful.
Is she a comic?
Wonderful. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Well, sure.
Oh, wow.
Come on. I set
Right.
him up for that one. He did that on my account.
No, it's all in fun.
No, but I mean, I think on that, because this is like a Mafia theme show, but that Patreon, I think we're doing some of our best work on there because we're just able to sort of go and like talk about whatever we want, you know. So we started the episode with a.
We've done a lot of R. Kelly so far.
Yeah, we'll sing R. Kelly songs or like.
Literally singing along. He's got songs memorized. He's like, that's his go-to karaoke.
Ignition? Do you have Ignition memorized?
No, but no, some deep cuts. Because you ever hear the song Real Talk?
No.
It's just R. Kelly like doing a monologue where he's arguing with his girlfriend, and it's the best song that's ever been recorded.
So funny
Because it doesn't rhyme. It's not. There's no melody. It doesn't rhyme.
That's
it's just
like-
him being like, "Listen, bitch, I'm telling you." It's like, but it's all his side of the argument.
It's so good.
It's like,
What about the closet one? The closet one.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, we've talked about
It's
that.
we got
so
into
good.
It's amazing. It feels like he's trolling with that.
I don't know. I think he just thinks he's doing like these like R&B operas or something. I think he thinks it's like art.
That's
So
what everybody
funny.
says,
And
but it's so hard to believe, you know, because it's so funny.
Yeah, I don't know if he's that crazy.
You think he's just trying to be funny?
But
He's also doesn't he run a sex cult, or he has these girls that like
Right. Yeah.
is that not
Throw
true?
that in his face.
Everybody
No, it's
brilliant.
true, yeah.
I don't know. Every brilliant person seems to have. We just don't know about it.
Every brilliant person runs a sex cult.
No, but didn't like. I mean, think of all the
They're
singers that you
degenerates.
like Sam Cooke and like Otis Redding. I mean, those guys are some of my favorite. And you don't know about the stuff they did.
No, you don't. And also, every famous person, I think everybody famous throughout history, all these people, they all cheat on their wives. Like it's just rampant.
Yeah.
And they all like, you know, when they talk about, even like when they talk about like Benjamin Franklin, like didn't he have like syphilis or something? Like that's Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah, Hamilton.
Yeah. All these guys, I think they just.
There was a song in Hamilton in the original score, and it was Benjamin Franklin talking about how his penis was burning. and he's rapping about his burning dick. It's like, I'm Ben Franklin, and I'm here to say my balls hurt in a major way.
This guy's on fire. He's rapping and his dick.
Yeah. Damn. That guy's dick is falling off.
My album's dropping, also my penis.
Yeah, that's how he discovered electricity. His dick fell off from syphilis, and he put it on his on the kite. And,
Then he has to weigh down the kite with his syphilis-ridden penis.
yeah, but so the Patreon episodes are great because it's really just like hanging out with your friends. You know, we shit on people, we call them by name.
That's funny. You should ask the podcast. That'll be #1 on iTunes.
But it's only about 68.
Well, here's the thing. He'll have me bleep out names, and then it's been a recurring bit where he's like, yeah, I suppose this person doesn't want everybody to know I had sex with them in the back of a box truck. So just email the podcast
I'll
at sit
tell
down. Yeah, at gmail.com.
You're so accessible.
Yeah. That's the future, baby. They want all your life.
Just being wide open.
Yeah. Also, I've posted photos of my girlfriend's tits, not like bare or anything, but just you know, like some cleavage. And Matt has yet to do that of his, so I feel like I'm not really getting
for the Patreon. You did it.
Yeah.
Does she know you did it?
Yeah.
And she's fine with it.
She's fine with it.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So we haven't seen Shelby's cleavage yet. which is kind of a bummer. Like when you put so much work into something and the person you're working with doesn't
agreed to it. Maybe she doesn't agree to it, Shelby.
Okay, fine.
You
Anyway,
can't force her to do it.
I'll tell you what she
I'll
did.
talk
agree
to her
to.
Hashtag
tonight.
me too.
I'll tell you what she did agree to last week was ruining my fucking show. Because
She was great. You had so much fun.
she was great.
Well, what exactly
Jesus
happened?
Christ.
Explain
Well,
to
what
me the
happened was so every week we just kind of throw the show together. I'm like, we should start it with a tribute to Little Kim because I haven't heard from her in a while.
Oh God, she's a train wreck.
Is she?
Well, the rapper.
Yeah.
She like has an issue. She had like Michael Jackson syndrome where she had an issue with. Well, he also at least had that skin condition.
Yeah.
She just redid herself with plastic surgery to make herself look like a white blonde chick.
Oh, she.
You never seen pictures of her now?
No, I
It's like
haven't.
scary.
Oh, I had
It's like
no
she did
idea.
it and Lisa Turtle did it from Saved by the Bell.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, look her up. Look
You
up.
sound
gotta
like
look
you
that up.
lost a loved one, Mike.
I know.
Hardcore was so good. I just hope if I ever go like completely batshit, I have a lot of money.
Well, that's when they get in trouble
Yeah.
because they have the money to do all this crazy stuff.
Yeah. Anyway,
And they
let
get
me find
ideas
out.
in their heads and nobody says no to them.
Right.
Imagine that's what happened to a lot of these comics. Look what happened to Dane Cook. Dane
Mm-hmm.
Cook, nobody was saying, I don't blame the guy for kind of going a little bit crazy because nobody was saying no to that guy. They were just saying, yeah, you're hilarious and definitely do all the stuff you're doing.
Yeah.
But that's what happens. We've talked about this on the show before. Like, you get to a certain point in show business, and like no one says no to you because everyone is dependent.
Yeah.
Everyone's livelihood is
Their
dependent
payday's
on
off you. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, you just become a fucking yes. I mean, there's people that like we probably came up with that they get a certain level of success, and your relationship just changes. with them,
Absolutely.
you know.
I know people like that.
Yeah. Anyway, and then but then you start to see them like because no one's there to check them.
Yeah, I think they think they're not doing it, but they're doing it. I think
Yeah.
they think we have people in common that I think they think they're not acting famous, but they're acting famous by pretending they're not acting famous. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it changed
Email
the
the
fact-
pod and sit
Still
down.
like them, still friends with them, still like them, but
But no one's
you know.
gonna say anything to that guy because he's too big and
No,
everyone's
there's no.
afraid. He's got
there's
too much
no-
power.
Yeah, and there's no point. Like it's
Yeah.
one of those things where because
no
it doesn't
point, yeah.
it doesn't affect me enough to
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not a hurtful. He's not being hurtful or mean or anything like that. It's just that's why it doesn't matter. Like if he was punching down hardcore, I'd be
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh come on, take it easy. But-
Yeah.
And also the person we're talking about, I'm not close enough with them for that to be the case.
Yeah.
Like if Saint Germain became a main, well, he's already crazy, Saint Germain. But if he fucking,
God.
if he became a famous, like a crazy famous person, I would sit him down and be like, you gotta cut the shit.
Yeah. I think God is stopping Dan from reaching a certain level of fame just for the good of
Just
the
to keep the
for
equilibrium in
good
the
of
universe.
world, for the universe. Yeah. Imagine Dan being like a megastar.
Oh, my God.
He would have to be assassinated.
He,
He'd have to be poisoned. Someone.
it'd be like when a pro, like he'd start wearing like what a pro wrestler wears when they become like one of those kind of characters. Like just like gold lame outfits and like gold sunglasses and like all this crazy stuff.
And you have to assassinate Dan, and someone's like, "All right, listen.
Yeah.
Every Tuesday at 4 a.m, this guy goes to the Sbarro in Penn Station, right? And he eats a
Gonna
pizza.
whack him.
Yeah, he eats a whole pie with a ranch dressing. We're gonna poison his ranch dressing. That's how he would get whacked.
I was thinking it'd be like
Make
it'd
him
be
get
like
a heart attack.
that would be like our Apocalypse Now, where like we have to go find him
Yeah.
and kill him like Marlon Brando in Apocalypse Now, just hiding in the water with
that's
with a
great.
microphone in our teeth.
Yeah.
Beat him to death with the microphone.
That rules. I texted Dan. I was like, Dan, I have a show. I'd love you to do it. He goes, can I do it in August when my album comes out? You can do it in August again. Yeah.
Do whatever you want.
Sorry. Can't be bothered. Anyway, so should I get into this? So anyway, so Shelby comes on, and we're talking about Little Kim. I'm playing some songs. I'm like, what do you think? I'm like, this is great because no one was doing this before Little Kim started, nobody was like, you better eat my pussy tonight, you motherfucker.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, but at the same time, Lil' Kim was out. Shortly thereafter, Foxy Brown was out. But like that was because of Lil' Kim, I would say.
Yeah.
I would guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
But
just
you're right.
doesn't seem like anyone was doing that before her.
No.
I don't want dick tonight, eat my pussy right.
I don't think anyone was doing it. You had think about 80s female rappers in the 80s were or right before that in the 90s were Lady of Rage, and she just talked about her Afro puffs. Remember she had a whole song about Afro puffs?
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah, she goes, I rock rough and stuff with my Afro puffs. That was the whole chorus. And I think, nobody was or it was what was her name? The one that was in Busta Rhymes' crew, Riga, what's her name? I forget her name, but she was the female in that, but she didn't talk like that either. So you're right. Like nobody was talking like Little Kim before.
Yeah. So I brought that up, and Shelby was like, "Oh." So I brought that up, and Shelby goes, "Oh yeah, she's a real feminist hero." I'm like, "Don't come on my fucking show with your fucking Brooklyn ironic, like snarky horseshit." Okay.
Wait, was she being sarcastic when she said it?
She was being sarcastic.
She was being
"Oh,
sweet.
real
She's
feminist.
always sweet.
Oh, real feminist here. Anyway,
Mike immediately, it's like, you ain't my bitch.
Yeah, you just gotta keep her away from the podcast, and Mike.
Yeah.
I mean she's never coming anywhere near this podcast ever again. But
So she said that, and you guys got into it on the podcast.
well, we got into it a little bit, but I was like, it's just like I just hate this new group of comics so much. They're all fucking ironic and snarky, and none of them reveal anything about themselves or like. And not that Shelby's like that, but she's definitely influenced, I think, by that kind of like by that group. So I was like, all right, get off my show. Now I didn't mind that she kept sort of interrupting the show because we were sort of like going back and forth.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It was funny. Yeah.
So like I would say something and she would chime in and whatever, and that doesn't bother me. But then we kept talking and we were talking about video games, and Matt was talking about Shadow of War, and he was like, "Yeah, that game's okay. It's a little repetitive." And then Shelby from the other room goes, "I bought you the game as a gift." And I'm like, "Now it's time for you to fucking go."
Yeah, you can't do that. Like that screws up the flow. If you're
Yeah.
going back and forth and it's a funny bit, you can do that. But if she's messing up the flow of the show, you got to stop.
Now that's the only specific thing that I'm mad at, which I think is reasonable.
I think you're,
Even though
I
she
think you're
probably-
totally reasonable.
Sure.
Even though she probably did previously overstep the line. So, but I don't care about that. That's the only thing that bothers me that she did. So what I would like is 25 push-ups out of you, like on the show, and Sean and I are going to count.
Oh,
No, you
what?
can't do that to him. You're not
insane.
Howard Stern. What are you doing? Oh, you really want that? That's the payback for the girlfriend interrupting the show?
Yeah. Now, well,
Wait,
no, just for him not keeping a handle.
Oh my God.
This is insane.
No, you can't do that to the kid.
Come on.
How about 20?
Bar her down.
What would you actually
How
do
about
push-ups?
20 and never
I
do
could
that?
easily do it, but it's degrading, right?
It's pretty
not
degrading.
really.
It's pretty degrading. That's why you're doing it.
Well, yeah, but he should be
You're
punished.
lounging back like Joffrey right now. You're
Why
like
should he
sitting
be-
like a little king.
Why should he be punished? He's not the one that interrupted.
Because he allowed her to interrupt the
But
show.
he has no control. Like she has her own. She has her own choices.
But he could have yelled at her afterwards instead of just taking it like a cuck.
Jesus
Became
Christ.
So I
so
just feel
alt-right
like-
very
So
fast.
Also,
crazy.
25 push-ups, Matt, you can do very easily. Remember we made Dan do push-ups in the group text?
Yes, that's right. And did he film it? Did he film it?
No, 'cause we made him film it.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, come on, don't do that to him. Come on, don't do that to him. That's too degrading. Especially since he didn't do anything. How long you guys been dating
He
for?
allowed
It's
her.
like 3 years.
Oh, you guys been dating for a while.
Yeah, and also like he was yelling at her while she was cleaning around us. Because we had friends in town who were like in our living room, so it just kind of cramped in the kitchen. So is this
So the friends were there, she was there, and you guys were
My
there?
friends were out.
His
So,
friends
like,
weren't even there.
the bed was out, like all their stuff was there. So we were just like cramped into the kitchen, and she's like cleaning around us. And Mike's like, "Get out of the room, mom!" So like I thought it was all funny, and I was like, "Oh, this is fuck it. It's the Patreon." You
But
know?
when she said that thing about the video game,
yeah.
she did kind of cross
That
the
was-
line a little
yeah.
bit, and you did nothing about it.
I thought you screaming at her was very funny. Like, of course, like I would be like, yeah, it's not a criticism against you. It's just a gift. It's just that game is repetitive and stupid.
also, you can. Here's the
but
thing,
when
man.
my dog goes too far, I correct him. So why?
Whoa,
Yeah,
what does that mean?
And first off, he got the dog 10 minutes ago, and no, he doesn't.
Right.
I've seen him making out with the dog on Instagram.
Right.
The other thing is this: you can't get mad at her because you were fine with her yelling certain things.
Yeah.
That's like when an audience, if you do crowd work with an audience, and then and then you're talking to somebody in the front, and somebody in the back yells out. You can't really get mad at them because they think that's part of the show.
Yeah.
So she thought it was fine yelling out stuff.
But that's when it kind of crossed the line, and she was like, "I got you that as a gift." Like
She thought it would
none of
probably be
your
a
fucking
cute,
business.
funny thing to say. She didn't know. Like she
didn't think it was
It's
cute,
not that
funny.
offensive. Then
She
she's
was
like,
trying to sabotage everything I built.
no, she was not. That's no. You're trying to make it a bigger deal than it is. I think you have like
Wouldn't
a
it be funny watching
misogynistic checkbox, like checklist that you have to check off every day.
I have it a little. Well,
like-
I am trying to get over that.
Yeah, but every day you're like, keep your woman in check, but also,
No.
you know, he's like, you know, gay people should get married. Like it's like out of nowhere. Yeah, that's you. Yeah, like I don't know. You'll just be real. You're like 1950s Italian dad, and then you're just like, you know, a marcher, like a woman's march
I'm
marcher.
only progressive about trans issues.
Yeah, that's
That's
it.
the only thing I understand.
That'd be a funny character.
Yeah.
A guy who's racist about everything else. Who's just a piece of shit about everything else except for trans.
And he gets weirdly defensive about trans. He's like, Caitlyn Jenner's fucking beautiful.
There's no reason that law should be in North Carolina.
Get out of my house, you piece of shit. Look, I just don't think she's woman of the year. All right, I'm happy for her. But, yeah, she is. That's a woman.
It's two Brooklyn Italians
Gina, get my gun.
just arguing.
You kicking me out of your house right now? Because you said
You
Caitlyn.
show her some respect. She won a decathlon for crying out loud.
Yeah. She beat black athletes. You know how hard that is? Because they got an extra bone in their leg.
One of those guys.
Oh my god.
That's good. All right. Anyway, so you're not going to do the push-ups?
All right, I'll do 25 if you do 15.
Why do I have to do push-ups? I'm not the one ruining
Well,
the show.
I just think I could do more push-up. I just wanted to try to barter with you because I could just say no, right?
I just feel like once I figure out how to like do this, like plug microphones into a little box, I'm not going to need
You're
them
never
anymore.
gonna get it.
So
You're
I just-
never
I
gonna
just
get. I'm
need-
never gonna teach you.
I could get it. I could learn that from anybody.
Good luck.
So I'm just saying, like, please, like, before I change my mind and fire your fucking ass.
Are you really actually
We got
upset?
a big floor right there.
You're not really upset.
You know, it was like
Kind of.
bothering me a little bit.
You want
yeah.
me to do the push-ups?
Yeah, I think it'll be funny.
It would be funny, but
I wish the show was live. We could.
All right. I'll do the
push-ups.
push-ups.
Do 20.
But you got to give me a raise.
All right, let's just move on.
If it's worth it, if that's a good enough bit,
gotta give 'em all the
you'll
Patreon
pay
Raise.
for it.
This guy wants a raise. Like people listen for any other reason besides me and my fucking me and my racism and my
I
misogyny.
think you need to take a podcast class and learn how to plug machines in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what?
I
If
know, I don't have
your brain needs him to bounce off of.
Yeah.
If it was just you, it might not be as good.
No, and he's really good because he's kind of like he's like a little puppy dog that just goes with whatever you tell him. So
Yeah.
it's like it's rare for me to be like to feel like I can talk because usually you're around other comics and everyone's kind of jockeying to like,
Right. You want to have,
You know?
yeah, you have the dominant personality.
Yeah,
That's good for you.
you hear
Yeah,
that?
don't worry
I have
about
the
that.
dominant personality. I'm gonna pee on your floor next time, just so you know.
That's he's learning from the dog. That's about the puppy.
So I guess you're
Shelby's
not
in
gonna do the push-ups, but now I have to question your loyalty. But don't ever let that ever fucking happen again.
All right.
I like how you
sounds
do this
good.
stuff
Thanks.
on the air.
Yeah, where else are we gonna do it?
I like how
In
before
private?
we started recording, Mike's like, "Are you mad at me?" I'm like, "No,
I know.
why would I be mad at you?"
Yeah, Mike goes, "You're mad at me."
He's
And
like,
then he
"Oh,
just starts
good."
to- He's like, "Well, you will be by the end of this episode."
Yeah,
right.
he did like a Mr. Burns with his hand.
Oh, fantastic!
All right, so
excellent.
let's play another game called "Let's See If Matt Deserves to Keep His Job." I assigned him a little bit of research. Okay, so I was like, Matt. So
Wow.
So what we're doing with today's episode is we're gonna go beyond the characters in Goodfellas and talk about who these guys really were. Okay, so we're gonna start with Tommy DeSimone. So Matt, what did you find out about Tommy DeSimone?
Well, I have his Wikipedia up right here. This was Joe Pesci's character, right?
Yeah.
Tommy DeVito, right? They changed his name.
Yeah.
Um,
And he also, I know for a fact, did not look anything like Pesci.
exactly.
He was gigantic.
Yeah, he was tall.
He was 6'2", and actually Joe Pesci was 46 when they shot Goodfellas, and
And this guy was young, right?
he was 28 when he was
Yeah,
killed.
yeah,
which is
yeah.
like hilarious.
Yeah.
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 But that's kind of the same thing. I saw Death of Stalin a couple weeks ago, and like it's crazy how different the actors are. It would be like you playing like JFK in a movie or something. A lot of people didn't think Sean Donnelly would pass as JFK. Hey, come over here. I'm the president. Let me eat your pussy. I'm dating Marilyn Monroe. Yeah. Happy birthday, Mr. President. Oh, thank you. So DeSimone was infamous for his violent temper. While playing Pinochle, he would throw darts at other players when he started losing.
That's so awesome.
Well, look at did the spider thing actually happen in real life?
Yes.
It did.
It did.
Wow.
Yeah. Same with that trunk killing.
Speaking of actors' ages, what's his name? Michael Imperioli. You ever notice that he looked 25 for like 40 years? Even when he started
in
Sopranos,
yeah.
He looked the same age as he was. Actually, it's not exactly, but
now he's like one of those old guys with a ponytail.
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
and oiled
looks like he's an
ponytail.
Amadeus or something. Yeah, he has. Yeah, it's really kind of gross.
Yeah. So Henry Hill described Tommy DeSimone as a pure psychopath and a fucking loose horse. A loose horse? Is that a thing?
A loose
horse? Yeah.
This guy's a real loose horse, if you know what I mean.
They have bull in a china shop. That's usually the go-to, but
yeah. Hill suggested that DeSimone had something to prove because his brother Anthony had allegedly been killed by the Gambino family for turning informant. That's something that they never get into in the movie, but Tommy's brother was a rat and he was killed, so he kind of like had this extra.
And he was a rat before Tommy was like involved.
Before
really.
Tommy was involved, yeah.
I think that's true, but I also think a lot of these guys, the whole point of all these movies about them and stuff is like they're also like, I guess it's learned, but they're also psychopaths. A lot of them are psychopaths. Mm-hmm. That's why it was seen through the eyes of Henry Hill, because he wasn't a psychopath.
Yeah,
like I don't think he never killed somebody, right? Like
he did actually.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, we saw through the eyes.
I don't want to jump around. I don't want to.
That's okay. No, that's okay. But,
yeah.
We can jump around. But he said that he never did, but he actually did kill like 3 people, and he admitted it on Howard Stern.
Oh, he did.
Because Paul Vario
interview,
who was
right?
Paulie. Yeah. So he's just drunk, and he's like, "Yeah, I killed a few people.
Can he still?
I need new pants."
He killed 3 people. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
So you do like to think of Henry Hill as this guy who, like, was sort of like just kind of like an outsider,
yes,
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's what the movie. That's how the movie portrayed it.
But yeah,
and like we were talking about before, a lot of the movie portrayed things way more lighthearted than they were.
Mm-hmm. Because it's like Henry Hill was bad, but he wasn't as brutal as Burke and DeSimone were.
Right.
Like Burke was sort of like this kind of calculated, like murderer, very good earner, but was always scheming and
he had a good reputation too for collecting money.
Yeah, and then DeSimone,
Jim Burke.
Yeah.
But then DeSimone was this guy who would just kill. He would just kill random. Like when he was 17, he just shot a guy on the street because he wanted to try out his new firearm.
Right.
So he just killed some old Jewish guy.
Isn't that his first murder?
Goes, hey, that's his first murder. He goes, "Hey, cocksucker," and he just shoots the guy.
Really?
Yeah, to show Henry Hill his new gun.
Right. And those guys are just straight up murderers. Like if you would take that guy and you put him in the backwoods of Kansas, he'd be like a Jeffrey Dahmer type. He just would have. Yeah. That's how it would have came out. Mm-hmm. It's a personality disorder. Or it's the upbringing, being beaten every day that turns you into this just angry sociopath.
That could be it too.
Yeah.
Because it does seem like abuse is a common theme with a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
But what I want to say, it was just some elderly, because you like to think like, they only kill each other or whatever, but it was just some random, older guy walking down the street.
Well, that's the way they make it likable, by being like, there's a code where it's only mafia. It's like, no, they didn't care.
Yeah, some of them were crazy.
Yeah,
a lot of them are smart about it, and they would just keep it to those guys. Mm-hmm. And I think probably even back in the day, the way that the law enforcement was, I think we talked about this last time, was like it was so off the rails, under the table, behind scenes. Like the way, if you read enough of this stuff, you're like, oh yeah. They weren't going by laws at all. Like they were literally just like, oh, you just kill mafia guys? Yeah, we'll barely investigate this. You know?
Yeah.
I'm watching The Wire now. It's like The Wire, like a lot of that. Like, look at Omar on The Wire, just killing people in the drug game. It's like, they're not gonna look as hard when you're doing that.
Right. Yeah. Right. But actually what we'll see is like, they do sort of act like, oh, we're part of a crew and we like look out for each other, but
they don't.
They don't.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's the point of a lot of this stuff. Like them flipping, especially when it came down to it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why when we were talking about The Sopranos on my radio show, we brought up that fact that it was like they showed you this ceremony they go through to get made, and it's all bullshit. These guys, when it comes down to it, they all saved their own hides, which they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So DeSimone, another murder that he committed, there was a mob associate named Stanley Diamond, and DeSimone got carried away after he was asked to rough up this guy. So after a truck heist, a foreman had refused to allow Jimmy Burke to unload the cargo of a hijacked truck in his warehouse, and he protested because they had no union cards. So Burke wanted to reason with the guy who stood his ground, so he sent DeSimone and Stanley Diamond. Okay, so Stanley Diamond was the associate. He sent DeSimone and Stanley Diamond to the man's house. It was way out in New Jersey with instructions to rough the guy up. But DeSimone and Diamond were so angry that they had to drive all the way out to Jersey that they ended up beating the guy to death.
Traffic killed this guy.
Yeah.
Well, that to me is one of my favorite things about the mob is the silly murders, like just the murders that happen
that don't have to happen.
That don't have to happen.
Yeah.
Like it reminds me of that scene in The Sopranos. If you know The Sopranos, you'll know the scene where after they find out that Vito's gay and the guy from New York, the big guy who's like one of the henchmen from New York, comes over.
Oh, Dom.
I think it's Dom. Yeah, Dom. Yeah. You remember the scene when he comes in?
Yeah.
One of my favorite lines ever is when who's the guy that with the gravelly voice that like is cooking when Dom comes in?
Carlo.
Carlo, he keeps making gay jokes
Do you
about
know the
Vito.
scene we're talking about?
No.
Yeah.
He keeps making gay jokes about Vito.
Because this is one of my favorite scenes
It's
in
so
the
great.
show.
And then Carlo goes, "You're on a run."
Yeah.
He goes, "You're on a run," which is such a great thing to say. And he keeps going.
He goes,
"Oh, I'm sorry. It was Carlo's lipstick in his pocket." And he goes, "Get that prick!" And they kill the guy over making gay jokes. Yeah. Wait, go ahead. Tell him. Yeah.
Well, he goes, I heard they found lipstick in Vito's pocket or something like that. And Carlo goes, "What they found of your mother's cunt?" Like, it was like real quick,
It just came back in so quick.
Damn.
And then, but like, just think about it. Like those guys are getting to the point where they're going to murder him over this, and they just full on just a cleaver just in the stomach, dude.
In the stomach,
and
you just start stabbing him right away.
The most interesting part is that
Silvio hits him, and then he
and then the most interesting part is like they're on board right away. Like they're both just like in sync. We're gonna kill this guy no matter what right away.
But you're rooting for them.
You're rooting for them. You're like, yeah, go ahead because that's
like
your team.
He's like their friend.
They know him. They have no other.
He comes by, he says hello. He's like, "You want some pasta?" Yeah, and they're
it'd be like somebody in comedy.
That's one of my favorite scenes in the whole show.
It'd be like somebody in comedy you had like a minor disagreement with, and then you murdered them.
You start stabbing them. But what's great about that scene is you can tell that Silvio and Carlo are like still disgusted by Vito, but they can't let this guy.
Yeah, because he's still their friend.
He's still their friend.
They're conflicted by the by their feelings for it. You know.
Well, they found me mother's cunt.
He goes. He goes, 2 ball in the corner pocket. That's where he died. He goes, "You're on a run." Just the way he goes, "You're on a run."
Yeah, he goes, "You're really up on this stuff, Dom." Huh?
That's a great scene.
Yeah, and then he falls on the meat because the guy's really big and he's like putting up a fight while they're killing him.
On the dinner table,
he falls on the meatballs.
Yeah. It's like, but it's so fun. They have so many of those that are just like. They're all just because these guys rage. They just have insane rage.
Yeah.
They never, they never worked on that.
Silly murders.
Well, DeSimone, so there is a theory that DeSimone was murdered by John Gotti.
No, I've heard that's who it was.
Yeah, I mean, there's conflicting accounts, but that's probably the most reliable.
Well, I've heard that Nicholas Pileggi said that they couldn't put that fact in the movie, and Scorsese wouldn't because Gotti was still the guy.
Still kind of yeah.
So later on, I think
when did he become
came
the
out.
boss? Gotti, early '90s, right?
Early '90s, I think.
Yeah,
I
so
think
it was
he
probably
got it from Paul Castellano.
Yeah,
because
but he wasn't
Sammy
the boss
Bull-
at the time when Goodfellas came out. Because I think that was that was maybe '88 when they killed Paul Castellano. Wait, let me look that up real quick. Sorry, '85 Castellano was killed, so Gotti was the boss at that point.
No, Castellano was, and then they killed him, and then
but when Goodfellas came out, Gotti was the boss of the Gambino family.
Absolutely. I think at the time that it's depicting. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. So he was definitely the boss at that point, and he was like that was probably his prime time right there.
Right.
No,
but Gotti actually hated DeSimone because DeSimone was dating the sister of Ronald Foxy Giroth, a friend of Gotti, and he was beating Giroth's sister. So when DeSimone heard it, and Giroth was like, "I'm going to kill this guy." So when DeSimone heard about the threat, he went to Giroth's apartment and knocked on the door. Giroth opened the door and punched DeSimone in the face. DeSimone then shot Giroth between the eyes, which is crazy. Like,
wow.
Why would you hit your sister, right? He was hitting his sister?
He was hitting Giroth's sister. Giroth was like, "I'm going to kill that guy." He comes to his house. Yeah, he hits him and then he shoots him.
Deserved it.
Yeah. So that's good. You know, You beat a guy's sister.
Yeah,
But Gotti didn't
murder the
kill him.
guy.
Murder
Gotti
guy,
didn't
yeah.
like that, huh?
They're not.
Gotti didn't like that. Yeah.
Gotti didn't like that DeSimone did that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because like these guys, they're all animals, but the
There's a hierarchy.
it's such a great conflict. You know, it's like these two psychopaths who are gonna. You know, like Gotti and Gas Pipe didn't like each other, and
well, think about it also this way: they're living also in a time when, like, innuendo and hearsay are all rampant. So these guys, some of these guys are probably getting killed for no reason because they just, hey, I heard this thing this guy said, and that just makes your you get your stigma because of that, and then you have an X on your back because of that, and you end up getting murdered. Like, hey, I heard you stole money from this heist, and it wasn't for you, and you did, and it's like it doesn't matter if it's true or not, because they're not. It's not like they're not gonna Google check it. They're not gonna text somebody and be like, hey, did this definitely happen?
Right.
They just are just like, yeah, we'll just get rid of them. You know.
Right. Well, when they robbed Air France, like in the beginning of Goodfellas, when they just walk in and take the money with
Is that
the
with the Frenchie
briefcases?
one with Frenchie with Mike Starr? Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened was they gave like a tribute. They gave it to the Lucchese family who they were working for, and they gave a tribute to the Colombo family because that airport was Colombo turf.
Oh, okay.
So they gave like $100,000 to the Colombo family. I guess my point is like it must be so nerve wracking to keep track of that stuff, like who you have to pay the money to, and like you short the Colombo family $100,000, like you know,
or they said,
they'll tell you.
Or
the
way that those things went, it was like they felt they deserved more. Say they gave them 50, and they're like, we deserve 100. That's a whole thing right there. That's a war waiting to happen.
Sure.
What family was the Goodfellas family?
Lucchese.
They're part of Lucchese?
Yeah, Lucchese.
Okay.
Yeah.
That I didn't know. I never thought to look that up.
Yeah. So then,
And most of it is true. Most of the movie is true, right?
yeah.
Yes.
Because I know a lot of it is like, Henry Hill would go on Stern and be like, that's where so-and-so's buried. That's where so-and-so's buried.
Oh yeah.
Like the Billy Bats thing happened 100%.
Yeah. Well, Henry Hill actually said that Joe Pesci's portrayal was, quote, between 90 and 95% accurate.
Yeah, except for the fucking appearance.
Except for that DeSimone was 6'2" and not 46 years old.
But it almost made him more interesting that he was like that and he wasn't just this gigantic. Because it would have made more sense for him to be like a maniac that big.
Yeah.
So the fact that Joe Pesci pulled it off, it's like, that's great.
And also, you couldn't find an actor that young to do that good of a performance, I don't think.
No, I don't think so.
I can't, unless it's somebody
iconic.
Yeah.
I like how him
with
shining shoes was a real story, you know, like how he did shine shoes and he's like, get your fucking shine box. That was so great.
It's perfect.
That was real. And the Billy Bats murder was pretty like similar to what happened in the movie. The only difference was Billy Bats was killed a couple weeks after instead of the same night.
I heard that. Yeah, I did hear that.
Yeah. But that kind of went down the same way it happened.
And they did it a better way. Like that's the thing. That's what happens with movies, and that's not that much of a difference.
Yeah.
What's going to screw up the whole thing? Like if you look at JFK, the movie is a big problem with like a lot of that stuff's not true.
Oh yeah.
There's like historical facts that aren't true in that movie.
Yikes.
Okay. It's like that. So like something like he got murdered a couple weeks later.
It's kind of fun to take those liberties though, you know.
Yeah.
Well, not when it's JFK assassination, when it's something like you're changing the viewpoint of a lot of people when you have to do things by the book if you're doing something like JFK assassination, and they didn't. Like Donald Sutherland on that movie wasn't a real person. They say he's Mr. X and he was like a government official. He wasn't.
There was no Mr. X.
There was no Mr. X. It was literally he was an amalgam of authors, interviews with other people that are in the movie, and and then one guy from the government that gave him like one piece of information.
Yeah.
So like it's just all bullshit.
That's such a great like Hollywood interpretation of that. Where like, there's a guy named Mr. X. And he's a secret. And then like conspiracies aren't done by just a bunch of incompetent you know.
Well, that's the other thing where it's like they have him and he brings the story so much along that's an easier way to do that, because if you had to explain everything else, you're not gonna it's harder to do that,
right?
With how the actual truth was, but. Yeah. If you're watching and you're a conspiracy theorist and you're like, oh my God, who is Mr. X?
Yeah.
And that changes the whole thing. That's why it's all bullshit, you know?
Right. Well, actually, so DeSimone was murdered. Now, the one thing in the movie that was kind of different was that they think DeSimone was actually tortured to death instead of just shot in the head.
Yeah, he wasn't shot. He was just stabbed.
Yeah, because a lot of people did not like this guy and they wanted to watch him suffer. Yeah.
Oh, wow. But it's such a great scene when he's killed. It's such a great scene that I'm glad they didn't do it the other way.
Yeah. And that's that.
And that's that. When he walks in and he goes, oh, he knows.
Yeah.
Like just the idea that he knows, you know you're going to get killed a millisecond before you're going to get killed.
Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy.
But actually, that really happened with Jimmy Burke too. When he found out he was killed, he like cried and like messed up the payphone.
Really? Is that all true?
Which is funny in Goodfellas when De Niro just pushes the payphone
Oh
over.
yeah,
Like you can do that.
He just
Yeah.
It's not like one fell swoop. He just rocks it until it goes over. Like
he just hits it one time and full loop. But that's something I would like to see, like the actual Jimmy Burke, crying at a phone booth because his friend got killed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm like, it'd be such a weird sight because I'm sure that guy didn't cry.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's what's so weird about these kind of guys. It's like they have the same personality traits as a serial killer, but they also had like a second life where they would go back and be like family men and then take care. Like, so not all of them, but some of them would go and take care of their kids and their wife and so you wonder. It's like, well, actual serial killers don't really do that. I guess some do. Some have backstories as well, I guess, but they're faking that part of their lives. That's all fake. They don't care about it. Sure. If they're a true sociopath, they don't feel anything. So you wonder how much of these guys are psychopaths, or like I think it's probably a different name for when it's mafia guys, because it's probably
they can turn it on and off.
They can turn it on and off, and it's also it's nurture, not nature, that's doing it. Like it's not like they were born with like a wire loose.
Yeah,
they're literally, like we said before, they're getting beaten up as kids. They had poverty as kids. They were trying to survive, and they were desensitized from very early on, or they grew up in this and they saw murders, so they were desensitized from that. So like you wonder what does it. Like you have to take it case by case.
Yeah.
Or it's like an epidemic. It's like all these guys, they have similar experiences and they become as psychotic,
Right.
Like what is the one kernel of thing that happens that makes this type of guy become that fucking crazy? Because
I don't know if it's one kernel of a thing. I think it just seems like prolonged abuse.
Yeah. Because you wonder, like, I think it was you and me were talking about this the other day. It's like the Italian mafia is the most fun one to talk about and learn about. Like, nobody knows about like the Russian mafia and stuff. Yeah. You don't care about it as much because you're
But it does seem like some of these Irish guys are a little tougher than a lot of the Italians.
They sound tougher.
I don't know.
The Irish guys? Yeah. Irish guys. Yeah. Well, you mean like the Westies and stuff like that? And
some of them just
guys are straight up killers. Like, it's like a gang more than...
They use bombs. That's scary.
Yeah. They sound tougher, and they sound like they're more willing to like get their hands dirty and stuff
I think
like that.
they're like the actual Irish guys, not just like Jimmy Burke or something. I think it comes from like we have nothing to lose.
Yeah,
we are so effed. We have nothing to lose. Like it does not matter. We are poverty stricken.
You might as well be dead.
Might as well be dead. Like if you don't care about dying, you don't care about anything. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's where that comes from.
Right. That's why this country needs socialism, people. But let's talk about an Irish guy, Jimmy Burke, who was Jimmy Conway in the movie. He was born in New York in 1931. His mother, Jane Conway, was from Dublin, and his father's never been identified. Now, he was actually put in foster homes, and what happened was he had this foster family, and his dad went to hit him in the car, and he like lost control of the car and died in a car accident.
I heard that.
Yeah,
I read
that's
that.
crazy.
Yeah.
And his mom blamed him, or his foster mom blamed him for...
So would she beat him up every day?
Yeah.
I wonder what he said to make this dad turn around and try to hit him.
Right.
It could have been some bad shit.
Who knows what he said?
Who knows, right?
But that's another thing you have to look at. Like, it comes back to that. The abuse is key. The abuse, because look at this thing. All right, so the dad was trying to abuse him and then got killed as a result. So the mom, in response,
more abuse.
She didn't look inward and go, "Oh my God, let's stop this cycle now." She's like, "More abuse because you got my husband killed."
Yeah, he was probably sexually abused too.
That's what they think.
Yeah,
spread that around.
No, I think no. I'm just saying.
Ghost.
I remember reading that somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
There
Don't
were
worry, I would
stories
never
about it.
disparage a great man. Like I would never make up an ugly rumor like that.
And you wonder that's like the heyday. Also, that's like the heyday, or later on is the heyday of like the Catholic priest thing. So maybe that's where a lot of this stuff's coming from too. Like it's basically what you have to realize is like a lot of these guys. Like back in the day, people were keeping secrets left and right. There was just tons of shitty things going on behind closed doors, and they were pretending. That's what they say now. They're like, "Isn't society so much better back then? It was a nicer time." It's like, no, it wasn't. They just kept it under wraps, and they didn't confront anything, and they were letting people get away with tons of shit because they didn't want to have to deal with it. You know?
Yeah. But apparently Sinatra liked to hang out with Jimmy Burke.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like the Johnny Fontaine character from The Godfather, right?
Yeah.
No, he's not. Well, Johnny Fontaine is
He's
is
like
based on Sinatra.
Yeah, exactly.
But that family is. I don't know what they're supposed to be. That's not. I don't know what family. That is.
That's like just a made up one. I was just saying like I could see Sinatra being connected to Burke. You know, it's because he like had mob ties.
See, everywhere. I'm shocked because I figured Sinatra would be connected to like straight up Italian guys. like the ones that are in it. Like Burke, because like they said, Burke wasn't completely in it because he was half Irish. So I think those guys were just like on the fringe.
Yeah.
The other thing I always find interesting when I and this is they're a little bit different, but like when I read or I watched that show about the Sopranos guys, they don't make that much money. Like if you're not one of the higher ups, you're not making that much money.
Yeah, it's all like a sales job kind of.
Yeah, you're not.
Like if you don't produce, you
it's
don't.
like a Ponzi scheme.
Right. That's why a lot of these guys are conservative. You know, they're like, I earned that money. Keep your fucking hands off me. Obviously, but actually, Burke married a lady named Mickey, and
I think her name's Mickey in the movie too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they called her Mickey Conway. But she had an ex-boyfriend who was calling her by telephone, yelling at her on the street, and passing her house for hours in his car. And on their wedding day, police found his body. They found his chopped up body in his car. It was cut into more than a dozen pieces.
Jesus Christ!
I think of Jimmy Burke like if you ever watched the Iceman interview. I think of them as the same.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
where like they had
just a psychopath.
A psychopath that also had a family life.
Yeah. Now Frank was very adamant about us never doing an episode on the Iceman.
Why?
He was just like, that guy's a fake. He's a fraud. He's a fucking not a real gangster.
How is he not a real gangster?
Because he's like he says he lies about all the people that he killed.
Is that true?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, he lied about all that?
That's what Frank said.
Yeah, how does Frank know? How many people has Frank killed?
Yeah. Hey,
I trust the Iceman over Frank.
This is a great.
I'd rather hang out with the Iceman than Frank.
This is a great quote from Jimmy Burke because he would bribe law enforcement a lot.
Yeah.
And one time Burke told Henry Hill that bribing cops was like feeding elephants at the zoo. All you need is peanuts.
It's true.
Yeah. It's probably such an inconsequential amount of money.
Yeah,
to bribe somebody.
Yeah, I think they just did it for like because they knew
just
they wouldn't
for
get
fun,
caught.
A little extra.
So I think they just did it for like in Mean Streets when he's like, "Let me get you cab fare." Like how much? Like, it's like giving him $1,000. He's like, "You give him like $20." He's like, "All right, I'll see you."
Imagine being able to pay off a cop for like $5. That's probably like the equivalent. You know, for
pretty much now. Yeah, they were probably giving him like 20. Honestly, back in the day, I'm sure they're giving them like what $50, $20.
Yeah,
like that's what these guys were like. These guys could get fired for that, but they just didn't care because they knew they wouldn't. That's what I'm saying. There was so much shady shit going on. They wouldn't get caught.
Yeah. You think about the Koch brothers too, like how easy it must be for them to like pay off a politician.
Well, I think they just have. They don't even have politicians under their belt. They have or on their payroll. I think they have entire like caucuses and like systems of like you know what I'm saying, like entire towns, governments of cities.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. Like they have a whole
Paul Ryan
network.
has to blow them while they laugh at him.
I think they're just so intertwined that like they have so much money going into that. It's not just a couple politicians here and there, like Godfather. It's more like, oh, we're just in it. Like if you think about all the stuff that goes on, anything that's like Republican or conservative that's happening, like movement wise, they have their hand in. I'm sure.
Right. So Burke had a dress factory. It was called Moo Vetta's.
Moo Vetta's?
Is this a front?
In South Ozone Park, Queens. Yeah.
All right.
And it was a front for his bookmaking and loan sharking business. He also had a tavern in South Ozone Park named Robert's Lounge. That's where a lot of his bodies were buried. They said like over 32 bodies or something like that.
Jesus.
Here's another thing about him.
Dude.
He liked to lock his victims' kids in refrigerators. So if you owed him money, he would take your kid and lock him in a refrigerator.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
That's what I'm saying. Like he's my favorite character in Goodfellas.
Yeah.
The more you hear about him, you're like, screw this guy.
Yeah.
Also, the dress thing.
But De Niro plays him so well because he's so calculated and like by the book and like you almost have to.
Yeah, the first scene,
like he does a heist with a guy and then he kills them all.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
But also you like him because first off, it's De Niro playing him and you love De Niro.
Yeah.
And also, the like we said, it's a lighter version of the guy. Like, he's really likable in Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In that first scene, he tips everybody. He like gives out like $500.
Yeah, he's like a rock star.
And you're like, oh, okay.
And that's what they're trying to convey in that scene. Yeah.
Well, Burke would actually call De Niro from prison and give him pointers on how to play the character. He was so excited about him being in a movie.
Oh, really? That's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
I just think that I put a question online, which I always wondered about, and my buddy Pat brought up a good point. The scene in Goodfellas where at the end where they're all coked up, and then Karen is like, maybe she's not on coke at the time. I think she is high at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, I think it must be his dress factory because she goes to this place. I think it's supposed to be like either I think the actual shot somewhere like deep in Brooklyn.
It's on Smith and 9th Street.
Okay, that's what
it was in Ozone Park.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That's where they filmed that thing.
Yeah.
And then remember he's like, all right, go check it out. I got some dresses for you. Go check it out. And she's like, no, it's all right.
Yeah.
And my thing was this. I always wondered, was he trying to get her killed? Was he trying to send her down there?
That's what they say.
Is that what they say?
That's what they say. I mean, it's open for interpretation.
I thought it was open for interpretation. People are like, what are you, crazy? It's definitely him trying to get her killed. But
it
to be
seems
honest,
pretty obvious that he was going to kill her.
but I'm like, it was broad daylight. I think the two evidence one thing that my friend Pat picked up on that I didn't realize, when she's looking down there, the shot they show of her is shot from above, like where the crosswalk sign is. And while she's looking down the hallway, right before, there's a shot of her looking, and it says "Don't walk" on the thing. So that's like a bit of symbolism in the filming of it. That's definitely on purpose.
Yeah.
So that to me, and also the look that he gives when she walks away, how he kind of looks around like I almost got away with something. That's probably me.
Yeah, he's like right over there. Yeah,
but I think they do leave it up in the
then
air.
when
I think you can make the argument that it's not that.
Yeah, but when she runs away, he's like, no. Like it seems like he wanted her to go in there.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he's too adamant about it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But they do it so well. Like, the acting's so good. You're like, you can go either way or based off his acting. Like if you were there and you saw that just happen, you wouldn't have thought anything. You know, like without context. You know. So,
yeah,
sure. So Henry Hill, same thing. He was grew up in New York. He had I think 8 brothers and sisters. Oh, and also Burke died of lung cancer while serving his life sentence on April 13th, 1996.
R.I.P.
At the age of 64. Yeah. R.I.P. to a great man.
Keeping kids in his refrigerator.
Yeah.
Like, what? Not the freezer. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We time out. Okay, what time is it now?
Yeah, let's pause. Can we pause? Hey everyone, Blue Apron. Some of our sauces look like cum. You can put them right in your mouth. All right, so I want to talk about Henry Hill, and specifically I want to talk about when he started dealing drugs. Like a lot of that stuff in the movie was, similar. He had a Pittsburgh connection. I found this. He would speak in code to the Pittsburgh connection. And
really?
Yeah, and this is him on a wiretap. The Pittsburgh guy. You know the golf club and the dogs you gave me in return? Hill says, yeah. Pittsburgh connection goes, can you still do that? Hill goes, yeah. Same kind of golf clubs? Other guy goes, no golf clubs. Can you still give me the dogs if I can pay you for the golf clubs? Just like nobody talks like this.
Is that guns?
Like it's so
That's
obvious.
guns, right? Or is that drugs?
Yeah.
I'm picturing
That's
emojis.
drugs. That's drugs. Yeah.
Oh, so it's like it would make more sense to me if it was guns because it's golf clubs.
Yeah. He goes, you front me the shampoo and I'll front you the dog pills. What time you arrive? Hill, anytime after 12. PC, you won't hold my lady friend up? Hill, no. PC, somebody will just exchange dogs. Exchanging dogs. You give me the dogs, I'll give you the golf clubs.
That was true too. I guess they sent the babysitter to go do that stuff, or somebody they knew.
Yeah.
You won't hold my girl up refers to the character, the girl with the baby bag.
Yeah.
The diapers. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty accurate. Like that's pretty nuts. That never happens.
Mm-hmm.
Think about how many things aren't accurate. Like I said, JFK. There's so many movies that they just take license for and they don't do the right way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's also fun to see what liberties Scorsese takes.
Yeah.
Because this and Casino, we know, like we did an episode on Spalatro, and there are a lot of changes that he made, and it's interesting to see what he keeps and what he changes around for the story.
But Casino, I would guess based on you tell me, Casino was way different than the actual stories, right?
It was pretty different, but it was also they kept a lot of the same stuff.
Because I think I mentioned this the other day to you, where like
I don't know what's really different about Casino.
Yeah,
like, nothing pops out.
Yeah.
I think it's just a matter of the people a lot of the time with Scorsese when he does it. Because I heard that, like we were talking about the other day, it would have made more sense for like to have somebody else play Ace in Casino. But he has to have De Niro because they go hand in hand, you know?
Yeah.
Like I heard he was much more I heard he was like lanky, tall,
And Jewish.
Yeah. And he was much more flamboyant than De Niro is. De Niro's not.
Oh, really?
That's what I heard.
I thought
like
he
I
was...
think the way I took it was like he came off as gay. Like that's how I took it.
Oh,
He came
okay.
off as a gay dude.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know if that's true or not.
Scorsese changed it.
Changed him to like
For us.
the toughest guy in movies.
He's like, Italians won't buy this.
He's like, it's either going to be De Niro or Bruce Willis.
Martin Scorsese presents Liberace. He's like, hey, you playing a fucking piano over here. You fucking piece of shit. Now I'll kill you.
Did you play my piano? Did you play my piano?
Yeah.
Did you fuck my wife? Did you play my piano?
Fuck my wife on the piano. I'm Liberace and I love pussy.
Did you wear my mink? Did you wear my mink? I'm Liberace and I love pussy. I'm a confirmed bachelor, all right?
What's another Scorsese movie that he takes a famous gay guy and makes him
Makes him the mafia guy.
Elton John?
He's just Elton John, The Departed.
Yeah.
You're not a cop. You're a piano player. Elton John.
The Richard Simmons Story by Martin Scorsese. Come on, touch your toes, you fat pig. God damn it, you got to get in some beach shape. So here's what I want to get into. And Sean, I think you're familiar with this. So like we were talking about, now I'm going to play a clip later about this guy talking about like being in a crew. And that's sort of like how when people justify this kind of stuff, they're like, oh yeah, it's about, it's just about hanging out with your friends. Cause like loyalty is it seems like a very big element and a very appealing thing about why, you would want to join the mob and be part of a crew. But it seems like these guys were just the complete opposite of loyal, because when Henry Hill went to jail, Paul Cicero in the movie
tried to have him killed, right?
No, he started fucking Karen. Did you know that?
I think I did a while ago. I didn't know that. Yes, I heard
Wife
about
cucking.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, he fucking he Matt Andersoned Henry Hill.
Cucking and fucking.
Well, here's the thing. Also, that's what I'm saying. Like you were talking about license. Like,
Yeah.
think about if you take all these real life things, put them in there. That's a much different movie.
Yeah.
Take the Tommy DeSimone brother thing. Take that,
Right.
Because then it changes the character of Paulie completely.
Yeah.
He almost comes off scot free in this because he comes off the guy who's trying to help him out.
Yeah.
but he's fucking his wife.
Well, so
And he also,
yeah.
because in the movie, he goes to him and says, "No more with the girlfriends and the this and that." And all right, whatever. But it's so crazy. It just changes the entire movie.
But you know what happened was Henry Hill went to prison, and then Tommy DeSimone tried to fuck Karen,
Really?
and then she like rejected him, and he attacked her. He like tried to rape Karen, and Paul Vario was like, "All right, that's it," and that's when he ordered the hit on Tommy. So like the one guy was fucking his wife, and the other guy tried to rape his wife.
Wow.
So it's like
That's my wife to fuck. Yeah.
But-
Well,
it's
if you're gonna murder somebody over a disagreement, like your moral code is like in the fucking floor. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like
Yeah.
you're not like you can't be shocked these guys do anything because they act off
Sure.
emotion.
Yeah.
So if you're acting off rage on one side, you're acting off of you're thinking with your dick the rest of the day. You know what I mean? Like so that makes sense to me. You know?
Right. But any idea you have about these guys being loyal or like anything
It's all
like that,
bullshit.
it's all fucking bullshit.
Yeah, it's all bullshit, and that's why the thing fell apart. Because
Sure.
if you think about it, look at the Russian mafia guys. That's why it's still around, probably because those guys are way more loyal, and they just keep their mouth shut, hardcore.
And they don't seek the spotlight.
I don't think this spotlight.
Yeah, nobody's making movies.
But also, like, I mean, I just want to talk for a second about the Russian mafia in media, because it doesn't seem like there have been any movies. They don't. I mean, there was a Russian mob character in 25th Hour, And then Eastern Promises was about the
Yeah,
Russian mob,
but
but
it's
they don't really
more-
seem to show up. And I don't know, maybe it's not interesting enough, or maybe it's just it hasn't been done before,
It's
and that's why
not-
they don't want
Nobody
to
likes a
It's not
Russian
festive
accent.
enough. It's not fun. It's not
Yeah.
fun at all. It's just
Yeah.
it's literally just like
Yeah.
Also,
It's not fun. There doesn't seem to be leeway or anything. It seems to be very serious.
They don't
like,
have goofy murders like the
Yeah.
Italians
Yeah.
eating
Yeah.
pasta.
or even
and-
they do.
right.
They keep their mouth shut about it. Like these guys. That's the thing about
Well, they call your
Italians.
mother's cunt. There's no
There's none of that.
Russian version
Yeah.
of that. Even the Yakuza too. I mean, like a lot of these other crime syndicates seem to be very just like serious and by the book, and like we're gonna tattoo our whole bodies and not rat. And it's like
Yeah.
this is just more like
Come on.
Because their
Yeah, he
that-
did it.
That's their culture.
Yeah.
The Italian mafia is like they're very. They're gonna talk. They're gonna especially the more you get people into it that are in it, so they can say they're in the mafia. You know what I'm saying? Like they talk all the time. Like, but these guys, Japanese people, they're passive people. They're not gonna volunteer
respectful,
information.
yeah.
So I think that's what it is. I think they just wouldn't be as interesting. Also, I don't know if people can find
they
out
don't
as
like to
much
be
info.
ridiculed either. The Yakuza.
Right. So
Like if you portray them in a movie, they'll kill you.
Yeah, there's no Yakuza. Yeah, there's no
They're not
Yakuza
chill.
movie where they were sitting around busting balls.
no-
there's no spider scene in the
There's no
Yakuza
Yakuza
movie.
writing a screenplay either. It's
yeah,
the
right.
most boring movie in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's end on this clip. It's 5:29 right now.
Okay. Yeah, Sean's gonna get out of here. So so it's funny because so Jimmy Burke dies in prison. Tommy DeSimone gets murdered, but I think the one who had it the worst might have been Henry Hill, because he's just left alive and he has to he's just gotta
Deal with all this.
and he did a bunch of stuff. He worked as a chef in Nebraska. He sold his own line of pasta sauce.
And then he dealt drugs as well, right?
He dealt drugs.
Dealt
yeah.
drugs.
And this is after witness protection program. What happens?
Well,
to-
his witness protection ran out. I think 10 years after the fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think, but it just feels like that's a sad life for him to have to just kind of drift around, and he used to be this thing, and now he probably doesn't even know if people respect him or
Well,
not.
I think it's also I think it showed you. I think he was already used to being kind of a scumbag, because I think back in the day his life was way more grandiose.
Yeah.
And then you get to that May 5th, 1983 scene in Goodfellas, and his life's falling apart. So I think he was used to it at that point, and he brought it upon himself.
But it must be the last maybe 15 or 20 years of his life had to be pretty sick. He also painted.
He fucking drank a lot.
Yeah.
And also, you'd wonder about how the whole thing's bullshit. Like, he never got killed.
That is nice.
It's one of those things where it's like, why didn't that happen?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why a lot of it's BS. If the people that you were directly offended or you put in jail are gone or in jail, nobody's actually going to come out and kill you. You know?
Right.
For sure. Another thing he had to do was, this is pretty sad, Sean. He had to do this fucking radio show.
Does he have a radio show?
Well, no, but he's like a guest on someone else's podcast or radio show.
Oh,
and
God.
I'm going to show you this clip. It's just
It's so sad.
It's just for Jersey or Long Island scumbags, people you'd see at a governor's open mic or something. Just talking over him, not even letting him speak.
Yeah.
Just
He's
trying to-
holding his own mic, and the
He's
other
not
guy
even-
sticks a mic in
They
his
don't
face.
even give him his own microphone.
He
He
has his own mic, but he's holding it way off to the side.
Okay, sometimes we change the details of the story a little
you
bit.
didn't
to
tell
kinda
me you're
drive
gonna
our point home.
Scorsese it.
Well,
All right.
but you should know that. Anyway,
Sorry.
but it's funny because he can't hold the mic. He's holding it down like this, and the guy's
Is this right before he
asking him
died?
questions, putting the microphone in his face. Yeah, he's pretty old in this clip, but this makes me feel like him having to do this radio show has got to be worse than any prison sentence.
Yeah, that's right. We all get old but you, Henry.
It's like Jersey radio guy.
Sonny Black
Yeah. Sonny Black's from
No, they
Nebraska,
found him
right?
floating in the west side in the Henry Hudson with no hands. They cut his
so is that
hands
guy-
off.
You know why?
Who
You
did?
guys are keeping to a
Because
vibrator.
no. He was.
New
he,
story.
True story. He would He worked for the Purple Gang, which were the heroin dealers back in the day.
One day up in East Harlem.
Yeah. Right.
Ooh.
And they caught him putting too much whack on the shit. Because 1 kilo of pure heroin would make 30 to 34 kilos.
But it's just funny.
It's so sad because he's like in this guy's basement wearing
Yeah.
like his daughter's headphones.
Yeah.
He has like these striped headphones on. It's the saddest.
Yeah.
Poor Henry Hill had to like print out MapQuest directions to like get there. It's some
Because you know he doesn't have a smartphone.
Right,
You know he's
yeah,
got like
yeah.
a jitterbug like old people have, like that fucking phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's some shitty house in like Teaneck, New Jersey or something.
No, it's in Lake Ronkonkoma.
Johnny, your friend's here to do your radio show.
And it's like they don't even like button up at all. They're like looser around him. They're like, so how did you feel when you ratted on your friend and you had to look him in the eye?
Look how sad he looks, though. You know. Just,
Oh, absolutely. He's just so tired.
Yeah.
The guy interviewing him looks like Barry Katz, doesn't he?
Yeah. Anyway. So,
Oh my god.
Whoops. Okay.
Yeah. It was like, who was filming? It's like, how about you hold the camera straight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, not to tie it back to what you guys were originally talking about, you guys had respect for a man like that, you know? If that guy came into the studio right now, like nobody would ask any dumb questions or like,
No, it'd be a
But
huge deal.
we would be a better
right,
interview
exactly.
than these fucking
That's
stars.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
I mean, show him a little bit of respect.
Right.
For
Yeah.
God's sake.
At least for
Yeah.
that he's an old man. It's like,
Yeah.
let's give him respect for that. It's
Right.
Like, you made it to 70. Let's show you some
Yeah.
respect.
Yeah.
But but also I guarantee you, like it. But he also like that proves that he was on the outside of it a little bit because he didn't have the presence of even the guy who called us on the radio show that we talked about earlier in the show. He probably would walk in here and you
that guy
wouldn't
sort
take
of
him
took
as
control of the
seriously.
conversation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Paul,
I think if he really was that much of a hard ass, he probably would have. But I think he's just done at this point. You know, like at
Yeah.
that point, he just old man who was just doing whatever he was asked to do to
Right.
stay on the spotlight. You know?
Right. It's just good that he died before he had to become a podcaster.
Oh God, the Henry Hill podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, who would he have on? It'd just be like, he just has comics on. He interviews comics.
I don't know, but those
He
things
starts
are
doing
always
no. What's even worse? I'm glad he died before he had to start doing open mics.
Yeah.
How brutal would that be?
I don't think he would do open mics. They probably like Patrick would just give him guest spots on Frantic or something, just out of respect.
Bump him up.
He'd be hosting at the Laughing Devil. Yeah. You know what's funny? Those guys who like aren't podcasts, when they have a podcast, it's always like disappointing. Somebody that you like that's not.
Yeah, it's never great.
It's never great.
It's because they're just like they don't have to put that much effort into it.
Yeah. This is the real death rattle of the white man.
Yeah, that's what it all comes down to.
Yeah. Anyway, Sean, thanks for being here, buddy.
Thank you for having me once again. I
Thanks
would
for
love
having
to come
us.
back. I love doing this show.
Yeah.
Where can we see you? Can you want to plug anything?
Yeah. Sure.
This comes out tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
I'm in the city this weekend. I'm at Comedy Cellar, but you can look me up on Instagram and Twitter. It's at Shawnee Time. That's SeanyTime.
Oh, please follow Sean on Insta. He's got the best Instagram that we've ever seen.
Everybody makes fun of it. All my friends make fun of it on my text thread, and Mike is one of those people. So fuck you, Mike. And I have a website, SeanDonnellyComedy.com.
Nice.
Awesome.
If you guys are
And my podcast. I have a podcast called Defend Your Movie. So please listen to that. It's a movie podcast where we take a guilty pleasure movie, you defend something that nobody likes.
I want to be your new co-host on that show.
Do you want to be? You said you want to come on and be Farrah for an episode. I can't do it. Just based off the conversation about Shelby, I can't do it.
No, I mean, God forbid we make fun of someone. Right? Jesus, we wouldn't want to do that.
All right.
No, but we did. We made fun of a lot of people when you did my show.
Yeah, we did.
We did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for
times.
having me, man. I appreciate it.
We got to speak truth to power. Specifically, two of them. If you catch my drift.
I gotcha.
Anyway, email us, sitdownpod@gmail.com. And also, guys, I'll be in Connecticut at City Steam next week, April 20th and 21st. That's not next week, but that's a really good club. If you're in Connecticut, come out and check that out. And then email us, sitdownpod@gmail.com. Follow us on social media. And we have a Patreon. That Patreon show is a lot of fun, you know?
Yeah, I think so.
I think we're doing some of our best work on there. If you guys want more content, I'm surprised that you guys are giving us money.
It's like hanging out on a weekend, basically, you know?
Yeah, and there's a little more... I didn't know we're not allowed to say wigger anymore.
Okay.
Did you know
maybe
that?
you should say this for the Patreon.
Yeah, I think I should.
I'll bleep that.
No, don't bleep that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a bleep it.
It's not a... Yeah,
Some people still
it's
say
not
it.
the same word.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not acceptable. I feel like No Country for Old Men, you know? I remember a time when we could say wigger and nobody cared.
The podcast ends with Mike telling his dream, just talking about his dream that he had. He's like, it was death on a horse, just riding towards me.
It's my Martin Luther King speech. I dream of a world where I can say wigger.
Oh God.
All right.
Thank you,
Did
dude.
you just oh God?
Yeah, of course.
I thought you were gonna stop doing that.
I'm working on it.
Do 30 push-ups right now.
30 push-ups. All right. See you later, Mike.
All right. I'm gonna play us out. Bye, everybody.